Hello, Keith. This is Patrick here at Patrick Damore Golf Instruction. First of all, Keith, thanks for looking me up. Appreciate you taking the time to seek me out and ask for some advice. I do have your videos here in my system, and I've been monkeying with them here for the past day. And background, you told me you were into the stack and tilt stuff, which I see distinctly in your golf swing, and that's all fine and dandy. I'm never one to beat down other people's ideas. When it's all said and done, the only thing that really matters in the golf swing is impact. Whether you're a stack and tilt, or whether you're a one plane, or whether you're a Sean Foley disciple, or whatever I teach. All these swings you see on TV in the girls' tour and the boys' tour, what goes on before impact and what goes on after impact really doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. It all matters about impact. And all these different swing systems are designed to get you into the correct impact positions. Now, they do look different from the eye, the golf swings, but they all have one thing in common, that's impact. They're all very similar. If you were to take a snapshot of all the tour pros out there, they're all going to have very common attributes at impact. Number one, their body mass is predominantly on their front foot at impact, which you can see here with the Tiger 2000 picture. Number two, the hands are always leading the club head at impact, which you can see in Tiger's picture as well. Number three is a more of an effect. Let me get the right arrow up here. Number three, the club head's always traveling on a descending blow into the golf ball. Again, that's impact, and that's correct impact. All the tour pros do it. The other attributes you'll see with the correct impact position among these tour pros is their hips at impact is pointing out in this direction. Their shoulders are pointing left of the ball at impact. Basically, they're unwinding their torso. You know, there's a difference between impact position and the setup position. Right there's your setup position, or Tiger setup position on the right. And you can see his hips now are facing the golf ball, so is his shoulders. When he gets to impact, now you can see his hips are wide open, his shoulders are slightly open, and again, the hands are leading the golf club. Every guy on TV, every lady on TV has these attributes at impact. How they get to impact, obviously, is sometimes different because of their golf swing and their tendencies and their idiosyncrasies, but at impact, it's all about that. It's that right there. And I got a picture of you at impact, and we're going to see some differences here. First of all, I don't see a lot of torso rotation through the ball at impact, number one. I'm talking about your hips and shoulders, so to speak, this area right here, and obviously your shoulders. Ideally, these things should be rotating this way much more than what they are at impact. Same thing with the shoulders. All right, ideally. When I see you at impact, and then I click on to the setup position, there's really not much difference. And that in itself tells a great deal about your golf swing. I can tell just by looking at your swing, you're probably a high ball hitter. You have a tendency to turn a 7-iron into an 8-iron, 5-iron into a 6-iron. You add loft to the club, whereas the guy on the right, Tiger, and every other tour pro, de-lofts the club and turns his 5-iron into a 4-iron, turns his 7-iron into a 6-iron. And basically, I mean, I don't agree with the stack and tilt system a whole heck of a lot, but they do put you in a good impact position. That's for sure. And again, what goes on before and after, it really doesn't matter. Although I like to pick on the stack and tilters, because I personally think if you to have that stack and tilt swing your whole life, eventually you're going to have lower back problems, I think, eventually. Much sooner so than if you were to swing the way I teach. And I think you told me you would been to my website a few times, and basically when I'm teaching my students, I get them into a perfect setup position, number one, and there's a lot to the perfect setup position, and number two, I have them demonstrate to me a weight shift, and if it's not enough of a weight transfer, I make sure they do so. And I know in the stack and tilt system there really isn't a weight transfer. There's if anything, a reverse weight transfer or a reverse pivot. Although in your golf swing, I do see a little bit of a transfer. We'll get into that in a minute, but when I teach the way I teach, I teach fundamentals for the most part. I get my students set up the ball really, really well. Let me bring up a model here. I'm going to show you something. 170. Just bear with me here for a second, Keith. I've got a lot of images in this software of mine, and here we go. Recognize him, right? I want you to watch something. It doesn't look like it, but there is a pretty good weight transfer there on the backswing. And you're going to say, how is that possible, Pat? His head doesn't move. Well, let's look at something here for a second. Here's his golf ball. I'm going to put a little line on his golf ball. That's his object. Here's his head position. First of all, he does have a weight transfer, but quite frankly, it's called a static transfer, I call it. It's done before he even swings the club. Right now, he has his center of gravity probably 7 inches behind the golf ball to start with. When he gets to the top, he probably moves maybe another inch this way. Oops, we just lost the line. Give me a second. Maybe another inch to the right. But long story short, he is loaded up behind the golf ball. All right, and then of course when he gets through the golf ball, we'll get him back down in impact. You can see his body mass has moved this way. And then when he gets to the finish, he's even out here some more. So, you know, quite frankly, on the backswing, your center of gravity is going to travel this way ever so slightly. And on the forward swing, your center of gravity is going to travel that way. That's how I teach. Long story short, that's completely different from the stack and tilters. I understand that, but this is the way I teach. And there's a lot of good things that happen when you do this. The golf club head itself travels up and down that target line at the moment of truth, which is impact, for a longer duration. And that in itself is enough to change anybody's mind. If you can get that club head traveling down the target line through impact for an inch longer, inch and a half longer, 2 inches longer, you've just greatly increased your chance for a straight golf shot. And that's physics. I'll argue that with anybody. But in any event, I'm going to show you another picture here. Where do I have Mr. Els? Els is really big time shifter, and let me see if I can find him. Just bear with me here. All right, bear with me. Where are you hiding here, Ernie? Here. Better yet, we got Ben Hogan. People think there wasn't movement in the golf swing back in yesteryear. I'm here to tell you there was, and Hogan's a good example of it. You know, you talk about a guy that said all he did was turn around to post. Well, right there's his fixed center of gravity, and you can see that's behind the golf ball. I call that a static weight transfer. He sets up with a weight shift already behind the ball. Let's get him to the top now. All right, I can argue that weight or his center of gravity has moved maybe another inch this way. I mean, I think that's obvious, quite frankly. Now let's get him through the ball here. Back down to impact. You can see how much he's moved to the target and to the finish. I mean, that's a weight transfer. I don't care what anybody says. And that's arguably the greatest ball striker of all time. His center of gravity is that direction on the backswing, and then this direction on the forward swing. And that's from Ben Hogan. And, you know, you can say what you want. That was a great golf swing he has. Tiger Woods, 2000. I had him up earlier. But just let's start him over again here. Now this video was not taken from a still tripod, but it's pretty close. Let's get him to the top. Now he's got probably a 7-iron there, so there's not a real big weight transfer, but there is a slight transfer there. Now let's get him down to impact and to the target. Look at this. That's huge. I mean, that is huge. His body mass, which is right here, started here moves slightly over to here on the backswing, and you can see where he's at right now. He's way the heck out there. So in any event, long story short, I teach weight shift, and I will never deviate from that. Now, let's get into your golf swing here for a second. Keith, here's what I would change if you were my student here in person getting a lesson from me every week or every other week. Number one, I need a wider stance out of you. A wider stance promotes a better weight transfer. A narrow stance promotes turn and twist, so to speak. It's very hard to shift your weight properly with a narrow foundation. So the first thing I would do is I would get those feet in a wider position for sure. Now let's bear with me here. All right, now I'm going to bring up another Tour Pro here, and I want you to see something here. We know who this guy is. He's arguably the best player in the world right now. I think he's got the best golf swing for sure. I want to show you something. I'm going to get you back. When that club shaft is parallel to the ground, which yours is right now, all right, I'm going to show you where your club head is. Now let's get over here to see Mr. Day. Well, this isn't moving. Let's get him a little quicker here. Here we go. We're going to get him back to where that club shaft is parallel to the ground. Probably one more click right about. That looks to be about parallel to the ground. In my opinion, it does. In any event, look where his club head is in relation to yours. When that club shaft is parallel to the ground, when I tell my students, we try to keep the club on plane as much as possible, because when the club is working on plane, the body has no need at all for compensating moves. All right. When I look at Jason Day here, that shaft is parallel to the ground. Here's the target line. I'm going to guess the camera angle's got concavity to it, so this is a little bit skewed. I'm just looking at his feet right now. It looks like he's lining up down this way. It's kind of where it tells me he's at, and coincidentally, that's where his club shaft is. If I were to put a line on that shaft, he might have it a little bit outside, but for the most part, it's this way. If I were to do this to your golf swing, let's get you over here for a second. If that's your target, I'm assuming that is somewhere in that direction. Your shaft is way out to the right. Again, that club is way off plane, in my opinion, to the inside. Does the stack and tilt preach that? I think they do to a certain extent, although I don't think they do it this much. But when the club's off plane like that, we've got to figure out some way to get it back on plane. And again, that's a compensating move. So the first thing I do in your golf swing is obviously widen the stance a touch. The second thing I would do is I would physically try to get this club head. Let me get these lines out of here so you know what you're looking at. I would get this club head over here in this position. All right. Trying to keep the club on plane as much as possible. That's what I preach. Shift, a good setup, a good weight shift, and keeping the club on plane will deliver the club into an impact position that is much more efficient than the roundabout way, as I like to call it. Now let's. I want to show you something here. I touched on this a bit in the introduction here, but let's get you an impact here. Why do we have the breakdown in the lead arm as we do here? Soft left arm. It looks like the hands aren't leading the chase to the golf ball as much as they should. Basically, that happens from one thing and one thing only. When your hips stop rotating on the forward swing. Here's your setup position on the right, and I'm going to click to the impact position. Look at that. There was not much difference in those two pictures. The hips are basically in the same spot, and ideally this right pocket should be turning this way. The shoulders should be turning this way at impact. Basically, I see a golf swing that when you start your forward swing progression, your torso kind of stops unwinding, and you let the arms and hands come into the golf ball. And when they do that, one thing's going to happen. You're going to hit about 6 inches behind the ball unless we have this breakdown going on, which I see over here to the left. Unless we have a soft left arm and we have a breakdown between the hand and the ball down at the bottom. That position right there is a direct result of not rotating through the ball. That position is a compensating position, because if we don't do that, you're going to hit 4 inches behind the golf ball. So what have you learned to do? You've learned to scoop the ball. I mean, you're just scooping this way with the club, releasing the hands way early in that forward swing and not driving through the ball like we saw. Let's see. Day is a good one to look at. Bang. Day's hips are way out, turned out. His shoulders are turned out. His hands are leading. And that's because his body has basically asked him to do so. His torso has turned out through the ball. All right. Now, what I want to touch on a few good things you got going here. And again, this isn't real typical of a stacking tilter, so I'm kind of curious on how you got to this in your golf swing. But I'm going to show you a position right here. Let's get you to set up. Things I do like. I don't want to beat down your golf swing to a point where you don't want to play golf anymore. You got some good things going on. There's your setup position, your ball position, your center of gravity, so to speak. I'm going to get you to your finish position. Now, that right there is a weight transfer to the forward foot, and I'm pretty certain they don't teach that in the stack and tilt, but your body has learned to do that, which is good. The other thing I like to see here, see how vertical you are from right shoulder to left toe? That's a vertical position. Your shoulders are very level in this position. When I'm teaching my students, I try to get every one of them, when they swing the club, into this position at impact. Left toe to right shoulder is a vertical line, and the shoulders are almost horizontal to the ground. That tells me one thing and one thing only. They've covered the ball at impact. They've trapped it, if you will. They've struck down at the golf ball. They're shifting their weight, and they're following through to a very solid finish position. And you do that. You do that naturally in your golf swing. I think that's a great position right there. Let me get rid of these lines here. Now, unfortunately, it happens after impact. There's your impact position. And now we're starting to release the lower body and the upper body. Then, of course, your torso follows. That all has to happen much sooner in the forward swing. I mean, that has to happen. That's the top of your swing. Getting down into the ball. Looks like you're rotating good right up to this point. Still looks pretty good right there, Keith. In fact, I see a fairly straight arm there with some lag. And right about here is when everything stops. And the arms fold, chicken wing, if you will, and the hands flip underneath, and you add loft to the club. All right. Again, your weight transfer, I think, is really good on the forward swing. It needs to happen at a better time in the forward swing. Your finish position's good, which is fine and dandy, but it happened after the ball has left the club face, which we got to get this. We have to get your torso, this part of your body. Let me put I mean, when I say torso, I'm talking right here. This part of your body has to continue and turn this way and this way. That has to go on right through impact, and it starts in this position here and just keeps rotating and rotating, but yours kind of stops on you. Then your arms fold and you flip underneath and you got yourself a high shot. You hitting a probably 7-iron there in the picture, and you just turned it into an 8-iron. Again, wider stance at dress. At the end of this lesson, I'm going to put down a kind of a checklist of what you need to work on, in my opinion. But again, wide stance allows the golfer to transfer his weight this way on the backswing. Okay, and again, I'm going to show you a real good picture of this. I'm going to try to find Ernie in here, and man, he does it as good as anybody. Let me see where I got him hiding. First of all, Keith, just bear with me. I got a lot of stuff in here, and I had them written down here. I thought I did. All right, I think it's this next one here. Bear with me, bear with me. There's Tagger. Ernie has a real pronounced backswing, which I really like to see. And I got to show this to you because it's epitome of what I like to see in a golf swing. God dang it, son of a gun, where's he hiding? Now, this is frustrating, Keith, just bear with me here. Alright, anyway, I can't find it. Let me put somebody else up here who also has a real good move. Bear with me. Son of a gun. There he is. He was here. All right, he's here the whole time. I apologize. Here he is. Now, in fact, I'm going to put him full screen him here. Let's look where his golf ball is. Number one, there's his golf ball. And I'm going to put down his center mass line, if you will. I call it the center of gravity, center mass. Call it whatever you want. It's probably right around there. Yeah, there goes the line again. I got a little glitch in my software for some reason. I just noticed that here with your lesson. But in any event, I'll put it back up there again. Now, let's get him to the top. Look how much he's loaded up on his right side. He's probably moved off the ball, I would say, 5 inches. 5 inches from a preset to the right weight distribution. I mean, he is probably a foot behind the golf ball. And that's a weight transfer. Any athletic motion you make, throwing a football, throwing a baseball, even hitting a tennis ball, you're going to find yourself shifting your body mass from one foot to the other, and golf's no different. All right, let's get him to the follow-through now. Look at that. He was back here, the red line on his backswing, right? And look where he is, way out here. The thing I want to show you here is this position here and your position is very similar. All right, we got level shoulders here and a vertical position there. That's good. I mean, if I can get my students in that position, I've got half the battle accomplished. And you do it naturally, which is, again, very, very odd for a stack and tilter because they don't preach that. I'm pretty certain they don't. We have a stack and tilter in our PJ section, and, well, we sit around the table and argue a little bit every now and then. Friendly banter, if you will. Where'd we go, Keith? All right, let's get you back up here again. Now, I'm going to put this in motion here. I want to watch something here. Again, not much weight transfer on the backswing, and again, I understand that stack and tilt. If you were my student, I was seeing you every week, I would definitely have your stance wider. I would definitely have you shifting your weight towards your back foot on your backswing. I would emphasize, and I can't say this strongly enough, I would emphasize hugely during your forward swing into impact that torso rotating and rotating and rotating all the way around to the left. And you got a great position there at the end of your golf swing. In fact, I want to bring up this other picture of you, the down the line view. It really shows it in detail. Let's get you into the finished position. I mean, look how far around you've rotated here, Keith. That's really good. I mean, I can't even stress this enough. I mean, this is way around. Right now, I think it's fair to say your hips are probably pointing well left of the target, for sure. And that's a common trait of good golfers, number one. It's a common trait of people who are very flexible. And that's something I try to get my students into. So you have the potential of doing it. You just need to learn to do it in a timely fashion during your forward swing. And again, what I mean by that is, let's go over here to the left again. Clear out our lines. Get you to the top. When you get to about that position right there, I'm starting to see the hips are a little bit closed. Ideally, right now, if I'm guessing, your belly button's probably pointing to this side of the golf ball. And reality is it should be probably at this point in time over to here. If it's over to there, then you're going to see even more lag. You'll have the ability to lag the hell out of it because it's like a whip. Let's progress you a little bit further. And again, there you go. There's the stop. The hips will stop right there. Because of the stoppage, you can hit 5 inches behind the ball. Your compensating move is to chicken arm your left arm and scoop it with the right hand and add loft to the club. But again, that finish position right there is really, really good, buddy. I mean, that's something you can build upon. And like I said, you got half the house built right now. We just got to build the other half of the house, and that's your backswing. Wide stance, shift the weight, forward swing, rotate like hell through the golf shot. Do not let those hips stop rotating. Keith, again, feel free to call me after you view this. If you have any questions, call me. If I don't answer the phone immediately, I'll return the call within 24 hours. That's part of the service I offer. I don't leave my students hanging out there in cloudland, so to speak. But at the end of this lesson, I'm going to put some points up there that I want you to think about seriously. And give me a call if you have any questions. Appreciate you calling me, looking me up, and look forward to hearing from you again.